This episode of The Blaire White Project is sponsored by BetterHelp. If you want to live a more empowered life, therapy can get you there. Visit betterhelp.com/Blaire to get 10% off your first month. That's BetterHelp, HELP.com/Blaire. Hey everyone, welcome back to The Blaire White Project. Listen, I know I say every time when I start these that I have so much to say, but that's because I do, and it's an hour-long show, so let's get into it. First of all, I am on my way to the airport right now. I'm going to LA to film a few podcasts that you guys are really going to enjoy. I don't want to spill necessarily which ones I'm doing out there, but they're very huge, popular podcasts, but very different from what I am typically on. So it's like, I feel like in 2023, I want to obviously being a guest on shows is like a huge part of like what I do. I want to be on shows that are different. Like I don't want to just do like I'm over at the Blaze, I'm over the Daily Wire, I'm on Michael's show. I want to do all those obviously because I enjoy them and they're great, but I want to venture out. So I'm starting to venture out, starting the year off with some like more maybe like I guess mainstream is the way to put it, podcasts. And doing a collab out there. I will spoil that. I'm going to be filming with Buck Angel, doing a collab for my main channel. I love him so much. So stay tuned for all that. But until then, listen, this is not sponsored. This is an absolutely free integration here because this is one of my best friends. Michael Malice's new book. Is it in shot? Yeah. The White Pill. It looks great on camera. It really did come out well. This is Michael's new book. And I am about to, like I said, be on a flight in a couple hours. So that is when I'm going to start reading this book. I'm very, very excited. It just came out, The White Pill. I really encourage you guys to go buy it. I know a lot of you guys are already previous customers of, Michael's work and followers of his work. So I don't really have to sell you on Michael's an amazing writer, but I'm just going to say it regardless. I'm really looking forward to it. It's all about communism, it's all about, dunking on the commies, but in an educated way, because I was having a conversation with him yesterday. Last night was actually the launch party of this book. And he was talking about how, people in certain like areas of the right, it's like, they'll be like, oh, Biden's a communist. And then that's their idea of what like a communist is. And it's like, okay, maybe calm down with the hysterics because Biden is a horrible president, but you really don't know how bad it gets until you actually study the history of communism and what it's done in the world. And this is what that is. So you will never fix your mouth to call a mainstream establishment politician a communist in this country unless they truly are. Bernie Sanders was a fucking commie. I'll say that. Biden, he's part of the system. I don't think he's a commie. I'm getting off track. Go buy The White Pill. I fully support, obviously. I would be pushing this even if it wasn't one of my best friends, but it does help that it's one of my best friends. This Timcast article says, Michael Malice's White Pill comes with a dark and personal vision of history. A quote here, so many people I communicated with thought that it's game over, that we cannot win against such insurmountable odds, something I found to be completely incorrect. So it's a book full of dark stuff, but in the end, I expect will have you feeling positive about the world and the commies will effing lose. Speaking of commies, the J.K. Rowling boycott, because most of them are commies, let's be real. We're going to get off commies. My ADHD is just zoning in on that one word, and it's like, why? Harry Potter book stripped of J.K. Rowling's name and then resold by bookbinder artist. It really is amazing. Here's the thing. People think that these like rabid, insane trans activists have so much more power than they really do. I think I was reading that like last year, which was pretty much the height of the like J.K. Rowling boycotts and the hate train against Miss Rowling, it was like her best-selling year in like years. So the boycotts don't really work, but nevertheless, the hate is still dangerous and she gets so much hate. But this is just insane. How are you going to remove the name of the person whose genius created this entire world that so many of our childhoods were centered on and were so valuable to us? I mean, the thing about it is I will always defend J.K. Rowling because, first of all, you can't show me anything she said that's that bad. That's the first thing. So if we're looking at just objectively the comments that she has made, I don't really disagree with any of them. Some one or two of them might be like a step farther than like, okay, she clearly has a chip on her shoulder, but like who wouldn't have a chip on their shoulder? I put myself in the position of like women who really see through the trans activist stuff. And like, I can't blame women for having like at least an adversarial view with trans activism and at least the real world consequences that it creates. And we're not even talking about actual trans people, because I know for a fact JK Rowling doesn't have a problem with trans people, because JK Rowling was in Buck Angel's mentions like the other day talking about happy birthday. JK Rowling has acknowledged Rose of Dawn, hasn't acknowledged me. Actually, no, that's not true. She liked one of my tweets and replied one time and she was cool. But I'm in a weird mood today. I'm like really excited to fly to LA. But removing her name. So what it is, it's this like stupid artist from Toronto who is selling her books, removing her name and selling them for like, what is it, like a crazy amount of money. But it's like, I don't know. First of all, I feel like even if you're on the side of like anti JK Rowling, why aren't you like intellectual enough to separate the art from the artist? We do it with plenty of other artists. But then second of all, it's like, calm down. Like, let's break it down. Like, so she thinks that like women's shelters should house women and that's like an issue. I don't understand. And I don't understand the issue with creating LGBT shelters. In fact, if I were to be real, if I was like homeless tomorrow, I would want to go to like an LGBT shelter. I would want to go where like people had care for the type of person that I am. And what's the issue with that? Biological sex being real? Okay. Her defending the woman who was fired when trans activists got her fired? Okay. Where's the bigotry? I don't understand. And even just the word bigotry, that is not tolerating someone of a particular class of people, right? She tolerates plenty of trans people. Just don't be crazy and send her death threats, you absolute freaks. Because you are freaks. If you're sending a woman a death threat over her opinion on sex, you're a freak. Remember when they like went to her house and were like outside her house posting her address and shit? Anytime you want to underestimate the level of depravity in which trans activists, not trans people, but trans activists will go to, prepare to have the ceiling raised or the floor level, whatever. You get what I'm saying. You can never keep up with how depraved they get, and it only gets worse. You know what it is? I'm gonna just be real here. And I don't care who's offended, because I've never cared, frankly. There is something to be said about hormones making you crazy. Hear me out. Hear me out. It is very well known and accepted within sort of other groups of people that take hormones that there often come like emotional and like mental issues through altering your hormones. Because at the end of the day, nature didn't intend for you to take a pill or take an injection that alters your hormones. I'm saying that as someone who does it because I'm an adult and I can choose to do that. But regardless, keyword adult. It's well known that like people have this thing about like dudes on steroids, like, oh, they're going to roid rage. Oh, they're going to have whatever going on mentally. It's well known now, at least there's conversations happening about how birth control negatively impacts women's mental health and can make them emotional and crazy and whatever. Is it off the table that taking cross-sex hormones as a trans person can kind of make you a little bit unstable unless you're keeping yourself in check and keeping your mental health in check and having an awareness of what these pills do and what may be an irrational thought that your pills are bringing to you or your medications are bringing to you? I'm very aware of this. I've been on HRT for 7 going on 8 years, which is crazy. And you know, you really learn what hormones do to your body, your mental health, and your brain when you're on them for that long, because I'm well past the point where the 6-month side effects, the 1-year side effects, the 5-year side effects, the 7-year side effects, those have all come into play, right? I don't know if there's 10-year plus, but you know, we'll get there, God willing, if my plane doesn't crash today. Side note, I am so afraid of flying. There have been times where I have leaned on strangers on planes for comfort and asked them, like, is this normal, girl? Is this turbulence normal? I have pulled flight attendants to the side and been like, hey, I don't want to be a bother, but the plane's really bumpy right now, like bumpier than I've ever really experienced. And I'm kind of going through it. Can you comfort me? Like, I'm that person. I like hold friends' flights on, but hold hands on flights. It's a problem. Um, what was I talking about? I was talking about hormones on how they make you crazy. They really do. I'm sorry. And, there's something to be said about that. If we can acknowledge that men who take steroids sometimes have emotional, mental issues from that, if we can acknowledge that women in menopause whose hormones are fluctuating and girls who take birth control, their hormones are fluctuating and their brains are going off, then we can have that conversation about trans people and we can get ourselves in check. It doesn't mean you have to succumb to it. It doesn't mean trans people are going to be crazy because of the hormones, but it just means some of these thoughts about how J.K. Rowling's like literally trying to put you in an internment camp, that might be from some of the pills you're taking. You know what I mean? Not to mention, all these like lefty trans people are also like into medicalization of all kinds. So they're on all sorts of antidepressants, on all sorts of like just who knows what, right? So it's like, I'm just being real. So the whole J.K. Rowling thing, it's like taking her name off the book. It's like what? Hogwarts Legacy. Boycott calls over J.K. Rowling trans comment fails. The boycott fails. Hogwarts Legacy is selling the F out. I'm personally very excited for Hogwarts Legacy. And you know what's so crazy? Despite being a lifelong fan of Harry Potter and J.K. Rowling, I'm not super plugged into the gaming world. So I didn't actually know this was coming out until I saw people crying about it on Twitter. So these people who, and it's the same thing on a smaller level with me. It's like, let's be real here. I have been doing YouTube for 7 years. That is literally like 100 years in terms of a YouTuber. Be real here. How many YouTubers that started at the same time as me have come and gone? A lot. So am I a Logan Paul with 15 million subscribers and on TMZ every day? No. Granted, I wouldn't really want to be. But the fact that I've had the longevity I've had, I think is in large part due to how much I am hated. Like, y'all do my publicity for me. All these viral tweets, all these TikToks, everything that y'all do keeps my name in your mouth and it keeps people clicking on my shit. If even 100 people on a tweet that has 5,000 likes talking about F. Blaire White are like, well, let me see it for myself and go check her out. And out of those people, 50 people are be like, oh, she's not that bad. And out of those people, 25 people are inspired to subscribe. That adds up over a long period of time. So these people who are like, have J.K. Rowling in their fucking mouth all day and night, it's like, congrats. She's selling better than ever, which is shocking, by the way, because her masterpiece, Harry Potter, was forever ago. The final book came out when I was still in middle school. The fact that she's still a household name and still doing the Hogwarts Legacy and all this stuff, that's because of y'all. She has this new life based on the hate that y'all send her. So I'm not saying to stop that in certain ways, and please don't stop hating me. But, it is what it is. I'm excited to play Hogwarts Legacy. I truly am. I think it's going to be a great game. It looks amazing. The thing about Harry Potter, it's like, not to be a lib about it, but like I have an emotional place in my heart for Harry Potter as well, because I've talked about how as a child I grew up and like I had no friends. I was heavily bullied. I was the faggot. I was the kid who was bullied heavily. Like I would go out to recess and like I'd just be walking and all of a sudden a basketball would hit my head because people were just throwing shit at me. It was that crazy. And then once I got older and like frankly my balls started to drop a little bit, then I was scrapping. It was like a whole thing. How did that relate to Harry Potter? Oh, because I would read these books like front to back. I've read Harry Potter, each book probably 10 times, give or take. Huge fan of the movies. And so like that was my escapism as a child. And so in a certain way, like that's a common narrative with a lot of trans people, including these lefty trans people, for which I am not. They also have this emotional connection because when you're like a young like LGBT person, it's like you back in the day when like it was actually hard to be LGBT, it's not now. You wanted that escapism and there were certain parallels you saw. It's like Harry was misunderstood, blah, blah, blah. I get the boohoo emotional connection with Harry Potter. You would think that would lend you to giving her a break, right? To respecting the woman that gave you that as a kid. Guess not. Shout out to J.K. Rowling, and everyone please tweet her to come on my channel. I would love to have a conversation with her. Oh my God, there's so many trans articles. Why did my producer give me this many trans shit? Like, side note, I'm like so over talking about trans shit. I know you don't believe it because I talk about it all the time. That's because I feel like I have to. It's getting old, and here's why. Oklahoma Milestone Act seeks to ban gender affirming care under the age of 26. We're going to have to punch right now. We punch left, we're going to punch right. I throw out lefts and rights, I don't care. Equal opportunity, right? Because up until now, this Oklahoma piece of potential legislation, the fight was about children. That's what it really should be, right? Because any Republican, conservative, anyone of any political persuasion who thinks that they have a right to ban adults who are voting, fighting in wars, paying taxes, building roads, working at Starbucks, pouring you your shit, you think you can tell them that they can't have surgeries or access to treatments that everyone has access to? Chill. If Republicans want to make any headway in protecting minors, for which that's my whole MO. That's one of my biggest life's purposes at this point in my life, as long as this problem is present. God hope that it will not be an issue later and I can like give this fight up and be like, okay, the world came to its senses. No more 12-year-olds getting their breasts removed. No more 16-year-olds getting their penises removed. Hopefully we get to that point. We're not there. If Republicans want to take this seriously and actually make change, make it about kids. Make it about kids. Banning someone under the age of 26 of what? Getting breast implant? What are you talking about? Literally, what are you talking about? And you know, I was very happy to see that it was mostly in the LGBT Republican sort of algorithm on Instagram and Twitter, which I'm tapped into. I know a lot of people are not. A lot of my audience probably is, but a lot of them were like, this is ridiculous. We started this fight to make it about kids. And thank you for speaking up. And please, more Republicans speak up because, and you know, they won't. But regardless, it's like, no, it's like, screw you. But I would be lying. And this is where I get tripped up, right? This is where it like sucks to be me. Cause like I said, I get it from both ends every day. And I'm not even doing OnlyFans. Doing what I do, I get it from both ends every day. I get it from leftists who are, she's too right. Get it from, you know, right-wing people, too trans. I get it, right? Everyone's a fucking idiot. Everyone's a collectivist. But it sucks because it's like, I would be lying if I didn't sit here and blame lefty trans activists for this happening. This is the type of pendulum swing that I have been warning about for my entire channel. Can we talk about how everything, I'm not even trying to big myself up here, but when it's real, it's real. It's like, I have brown hair. The sky is blue. I didn't make it so. I have been warning my entire career, keep pushing the kids stuff. Keep pushing the radical stuff and you're going to see a pendulum swing. You're going to see trans adults lose their rights. You're going to see gay adults lose their rights because you guys just can't pack it up and go home. You guys didn't pack it up and go home when you won gay marriage. When you won all these equal employment laws, which I agree with, by the way. I agree with all the equal housing laws for LGBT people, all the equal employment, all of that. No one should be fired because they're gay or trans, whatever. I get that. But what you realize is it's a whole industry keeping up the LGBT like oppression narrative. It's an entire industry. All these HRCs, what's the name of all these like big LGBT organizations that get like millions in funding and just raise millions of dollars? Do you think they would have just packed it up and gone home and given up all that money and all that clout once gay marriage was legalized? Of course not. It had to keep going. They had to keep inventing new problems. And now we're on 12-year-olds getting their breasts removed. And now we're on 16-year-olds getting their penis removed. And guess what? The general public is like, actually, fuck all these people. Because if you can't draw the line, if you can't find common ground on protecting children, then it kind of is like F these people. It takes everything in me to stop myself from saying F all these people about the LGBT community. And I do stop myself because I know that individualism is the way to go. And I know there are LGBT people, individuals like myself, a ton of them who feel the same way I do and have just as much of a fire in their gut to protect children as I do. They just don't have the platform. So I get it. And half of my friends are LGBT. It's like my best friend's gay, got my other friends that are trans. It's like Individualism is what I base my ideology on, but every day I fight the urge to be like, actually just throw the baby out with the bathwater. But that's where all these, this is in Oklahoma, this is where a lot of these people in these red states are, where they don't have the opportunity to meet LGBT people who are rational, where their only perception of LGBT people comes from seeing 16-year-olds in the media getting their dicks cut off. Like, that's what they see. And how can you blame them when every LGBT public figure is too terrified to speak up? Can we talk about how I've had like almost every single LGBT public figure in my DMs talking about, I agree with you, but I could never say it? Can we talk about that? And when can I just name them? Nikita Dragon. Imagine what an amazing, I like Nikita. Imagine what an amazing advocate before she lost her mind and got arrested she would have been if she would have been one of those people who was like, you know what? I'm not just going to be in Blaire White's DMs talking about I agree with all this stuff. I'm going to just say it. Someone with 10 times my platform. What does she have? Like 10 million followers on Instagram? Would have been amazing. I could have fucking retired. Who else? Who can we just out right now? Because it's been all of them. Several actresses. A bunch of these little TikTokers. And you know what? If you look closely, you can kind of tell which ones. It's the ones that don't dip too much in the activism, are just about being pretty. The ones that just want to be girls and not like rabid, like I got my period and straight white men and the devil people. All of those ones. Every single one. So maybe we wouldn't get to this point where the pendulum is starting to swing and potentially eroding rights in at least Oklahoma for people under 26. But chicken or the egg? Am I to blame the Republicans who didn't even know what trans was until 2016? Or am I to blame the radical left lobby who get a wrench to everyone's jaw, open it wide, and just shove trans in every fucking day? Right? Who am I really to blame? I'm sorry, I'm leaning towards the lefty radical trans activists. Because these motherfuckers on the right didn't even know what trans was until 2016. So how would they be taking away rights of a group they literally didn't even know existed? And it's not just because they found out they existed. It's because, oh, these people are a thing and they are mutilating kids and they won't back down at all. Oh, and now there's drag queen story hour. Kind of conflate drag queens and trans because they don't know any trans people, so they think it's the same thing. Oh, so they're dancing in front of kids, stripping, and they're cutting their penises off. Which side do you blame? Leave it in the comments. Because there's blame to go around, but the scale can tip as well. And I'm tipping towards the blue-haired freaks who want to remove the breasts of 12-year-old girls. I'm tipping towards them. Am I wrong? Because I always bring it back to, remember when trans bathrooms were a thing? 2015, 2016? That was like when it first started, right? And even back then, I'm looking at this whole debate like, I don't recognize this debate. I don't recognize either side of this debate because I've been using the bathroom since before I even had like all the feminizing surgeries I did. So objectively less passable. And I was using the bathroom just fine because guess what? Bathrooms weren't politicized back then. No one had an issue. Women didn't have an issue. In fact, like, I'm gonna just be real. Even when I was 14 and like objectively a gay boy and I just was like, I would wear makeup and I had like purple hair and like, but it was obvious I was still just like a young like faggy. I would go into women's bathrooms and like women would be like, oh my God, you're so pretty, you're so cool. And they were like living, right? And like it wasn't a thing. But then all of a sudden the left comes along and we're going to make this a huge effing issue. And every time any trans predator comes around, we're not even going to acknowledge it. And even worse, we're going to defend it. We spa. And I'm sorry, the right has to react somehow. They're the party of protecting children. They don't even want you to harm them in the womb. They go that hard about protecting kids that they even care when they're a fetus. And then you have the left who doesn't care when they're a fetus, doesn't care when they're a minor. If you make it out of a leftist womb without getting aborted and then without puberty blockers, you're a miracle case at this point. Listen, if if trans adults start losing their rights, I'll be screaming from the rooftops how wrong that is. I already am. But I am not going to place the blame solely on the people that have to react to minors getting hacked, right? Not saying this is the right reaction, but guess what's even worse reaction? No reaction at all. Being like, oh, this is fine. It's not fine. It's not fine. Detransitioners weren't even a thing 6-7 years ago. Now they're exploding. Go watch Chloe Cole's interviews. It's absolutely bone crushing and compelling. And she is one of thousands. And this train only keeps going. You know, Sweden, Australia, UK, they're all reversing it because they're seeing the damage done because they started a few years early. Here in America, you got Biden talking about put your kids on puberty blockers. Causes brain swelling and, you know, whatever. But we're not going to talk about that. But put your kids on puberty blockers. It's totally reversible and fine. That's normal. So, you know, it is what it is. I don't want it to happen. I don't support, endorse, or condone adults losing their rights, but I know who to blame when it happens. All right, you guys, moving on, because that was a rant and a half. Side note, I got an email today. An email talking about, from a concerned fan, talking about, Blaire, you're so beautiful and you add so much to the world and you've inspired me so much, but you have to stop changing your face. Your lips are getting too huge. Why can't you accept that you're beautiful? You're going to the point of no return. Let me tell you something. The last podcast, I admit, my lips looked fucking crazy. Absolutely crazy. And you know why? Because I had just gotten them done and they were swollen in the house. They were extremely swollen. I filmed like 2 days after. Can we just acknowledge that they look more normal now? They were very swollen last time. And also, I can do what I want with my face and my body. If I want to have like a third tit, I can't. You know what I mean? It's just like, let me do me. I didn't ask. I have never sat up here and asked, what do you guys think of my whatever? It's like, I don't need y'all to like my lips. I appreciate compliments and whatever, but like I do what I do for me. And I have that right. And I don't think my lips look crazy. Like I like how they look and they're still a little swollen. It's like, whatever. Like I like how they look and it goes away over time. It's not permanent. And I guess the reason why I don't believe people when they act like that is that there's been times where I haven't touched my face for like a year. And people are like, she's going overboard because I had too much salt the night before and I was a little puffy. It's like, calm down. Also, can we just talk about, there is this narrative that Blaire White has gotten so many surgeries. I've had one surgery. Here comes this, she's lying. I have one surgery and it was documented on YouTube. I had multiple procedures in that surgery, but it was one surgery. I got my breast and my face done at the same time. I don't consider lip injection surgery. And I'm open about the shit that I do. Here's the thing. I don't understand hiding it. I don't understand treating it like this weird taboo thing. Like, oh, I'm not going to tell my audience when they see it. And I get concerned emails. But it's just like, I've had one surgery and I get my lips done every once in a while. I've had a little cheek filler. That's almost gone. Got a little Botox in my jaw to slim my jaw down. And that's about it. I got everything else done in one surgery. But anyway, moving on. CDC identifies possible safety issue with Pfizer's updated COVID-19 vaccine, but says people should still get boosted. This is CNN, and this is a real headline. Possible safety issues, but still get boosted. That's like saying, hey guys, this batch of chicken may have got salmonella, and we're investigating it, but still eat chicken every night. Are you joking? Are you crazy? No, you're bought, CNN. You're purchased by Pfizer. But it's interesting because if you pay attention, there's a lot of headlines this week about potential health risks with the vaccine and investigations. Pfizer's launching investigation into heart attacks and strokes as related to the vaccine. Funny, in a really dark way, like not actually humorous, it's just like deeply ironic and disturbing that people have been saying that since the beginning. People have gotten banned off social media from the beginning for saying this. And I've often said, I don't want to live in a society and in a culture where you get erased from society for the sin of being right too early, being correct too soon, acknowledging reality before CNN says you can acknowledge reality, before the establishment clicks a button and says, okay, this is able to come out now. People were saying, oh, the vaccine's not stopping transmission. People were saying that for like a year because, go figure, you're living in the world, you're interacting with people, you're seeing shit, you know who's vaccinated, who's not, and you're seeing those people are getting other people sick. Oh, 1 + 1 = 2, the vaccine doesn't stop transmission. But if you said that, you were canceled. If you said that, you were kicked off Twitter. If you said that, you're kicked off Instagram. I think even right now, you can't say that on Instagram, even though it's true. But, you know, these commie ass bitches don't even update like their knowledge like to ban people. So it's like they're not even keeping up with the knowledge that they're banning people on the strength of. It's like, what? So CDC said Friday there is a possible safety issue with the COVID-19 vaccine made by Pfizer, but that it's unlikely to represent a true risk. The agency says it continues to recommend that people stay up to date with COVID-19 vaccines. The CDC says one of its vaccine safety monitoring systems, a near real-time surveillance system called the Vaccine Safety Data Link, detected a possible increase in a certain kind of stroke in people 65 and older who recently got one of Pfizer's updated booster shots. A rapid response analysis of that signal revealed that seniors who got a booster might be more likely to have strokes within the first 3 weeks after their shots. And and blood clots, all of it. But if you said that, you couldn't say that. But now CNN says it, so now I'm allowed to say it on the podcast. You get how demented and sick that is? How these health experts, they got everything right from the beginning, are deciding when you can say certain things. It's demented. Big Pharma has literally captured modern society. We are a country completely ran by Big Pharma. What you can and can't say is based on pharmaceutical corporations. Do people understand that? So much of our reality is constructed by these things too. At one point, we need to have a conversation about how many mental illnesses are constructed by these pharmaceutical companies that stand to gain on selling you a pill for it. I'm not going as far as a lot of these conservatives who are like, depression isn't real. Shut up. Depression's real. Anxiety's real. Like suicidal, everything is, all those are real. But there are certain things like, really, my 10-year-old has to be on 3 pills because he's rambunctious in class? Because Pfizer says that's an illness, and that's an illness? Not buying it. Because like I said, I was one of those kids. I was one of those kids that was not happy, and so I was put on every pill in the book. Rather than, maybe I'm not happy because I'm growing up in a tumultuous household. Maybe I'm not happy because I'm getting my ass beat at school and then seeing things I shouldn't be seeing at home. Maybe I'm sad because my reality is sad. Maybe I'm sad because the world is sad. And maybe we should work on my environment. But no, let's put me on 3 different pills. But you know what? I was that kid who was like, yeah, I'm taking the pill, put it under my tongue, spit it out. Because I was like, no, I see what happened. Even at 10, I walked my ass into that doctor's office, or was like a therapist, whatever. And within 20 minutes, I was being prescribed for OCD, ADHD, ADD, all this shit. And even as a kid, I was like, oh, this doctor is making money off that. This doctor is going to be getting a cut of these pills that he's selling me. So that's why I say I was never really a child. Like, I came out of the womb grown. You know what I mean? Like, I just was in the know immediately. No, but I was a very ahead of it kid. I don't know what happened. I'm not even saying as an adult that I'm some, like, genius, because I'm really not. I'm maybe just, like, above average intelligence, because I look at, like, the general public, and I'm kind of like, ooh, everyone's, like, so dumb. And you can see it, right? Like, you can see it. And I've taken IQ tests, and I am above average intelligence, but I'm not a genius. So at some point, that sort of, like, trajectory of me being, like, ahead of the game kind of, like, went down. But when I was a kid, I was very much in the know, and I was like, oh no, this doctor is getting money off giving me these pills. I don't actually have these illnesses. I'm just a depressed kid because my family sucks and because my school sucks. This show is sponsored by BetterHelp. Life has peaks and valleys, right? It's just part of being human. We have times in our lives where we're feeling down, times when we're feeling up. And in those down times, sometimes you need to seek therapy to be the best you and to get over problems, or at least learn how to work through them better. Working with a therapist can help you get to the best possible version of you and get you living a better life. Just fill out a brief questionnaire to get you matched with a therapist. And if it's not working out, you can switch therapists at any time. It's that easy. No more waiting rooms, no more traffic to get to a therapist's office. You can access BetterHelp's amazing therapists from your home, from your bedroom. If you want to live a more empowered life, therapy can get you there. Visit betterhelp.com/Blaire for 10% off your first month. That's BetterHelp, HELP.com/Blaire. Thank you so much to BetterHelp for sponsoring this episode of the Blaire White Project. And now let's get on with the rest of the episode. But these pharmaceutical companies have bought all the doctors, and they've really bought society. There's a really interesting debate that happened recently. Neil deGrasse Tyson, who really is a fool. I mean, not on a technical level. He has a lot of knowledge, but having a lot of knowledge doesn't mean that you're that dude like that. Like, you're not always with it because you know a lot of things about other shit. So Neil deGrasse Tyson went on, oh God, what is this guy's show? PBD podcast. It's the, his name is, I don't know, put it in the comments, but watch this clip. It's amazing.
It's your choice.
Your own body. Sorry.
If you want to get an abortion, get an abortion. If I want to get the vaccine, I get to choose. So you can't force, if I can't force you to get an abortion, you shouldn't be able to force me to get
Because it's not about you. It's about people you interact with, and that's the...
See what I mean? It has been out for months and months and months now. The vaccine does not stop transmission. This podcast, in which Neil deGrasse Tyson just fixed his mouth to sound that dumb, as I often say, was like 2 weeks ago, a week ago. So you're not even keeping up with the shit that you're so passionate about. So it's not about other people. It's not about who you're interacting with. It literally is about you. And again, people think I say these things to sound cocky. I'm not trying to sound cocky. I just objectively was ahead of the curve on this shit when I knew in the beginning. I was like, this isn't about other people. I'm watching everyone give it to everyone who's already vaccinated. This is literally not even stopping transmission. This is about what I want to do with my body. It literally is just about me. My body, my choice, for real, for real. Like, I knew that from the beginning. So, again, I'm not saying that to make myself sound super smart or psychic or whatever, but that's what happened. My hair is brown. The sky is blue. I didn't make it so.
And that's the social contract of public health.
We don't even know if the vaccine...
That is such a commie ass thing. I hate when they bring up the social contract. What contract did I sign? Did one of the nurses get my little baby hand and when I came out the womb talking about what? I never signed anything. I didn't sign up to get injected with anything I don't want in my body. And me as a free agent, me as a human being who was not asked to be born onto this planet, anything that penetrates me, enters my body, is my choice.
We don't even know if the vaccine worked or not at the time.
Yes, that's what the trials are, dude. That's why these trials. Are you missing data out there?
But let me ask you a question. Are we saying only one type of scientists are right?
No, we're saying that the system in place,
the 16,000 that signed that.
No. The system in place to test vaccines. Yeah. There's an entire system that's in place. That with review boards and all of it,
and the average,
that's in place. Now you can say what you can say is, I have a better idea than all these review boards and all these agencies and the CDC. I have a better idea. Here's what you should do, and that would have made everything better. Okay, you can put forth that idea, but what I'm saying is, in a case where you can contaminate someone else, it's not about you.
So I'm glad you're speaking in all these hypotheticals, but that's not what it is with the COVID vaccine. And we can make that argument about smallpox, we can that argument about whatever. No. And how many, actually we have the clip. How many celebrities, news pundits, activists all ran with this idea that the virus stops with the vaccine. That you take it and you won't get it. You take it, you won't give it to someone else. Every single one. Are they gonna get fined for misinformation or not? Are they gonna be going to court like Alex Jones? Like what? I don't understand.
It's about the collective
You're assuming.
health.
You're assuming because somebody can take the vaccine, won't get COVID, which, by the way, I don't need to play the clips for you to see it, where everybody said, hey, if you get it, you're not going to get, if you take the vaccine, you're not going to get a Rachel Maddow, Joe Biden. I can give you Fauci. I can give you, and you've seen these clips before. It's not like you've never seen it before.
Yeah, what happened
They
was-
were wrong.
Hold on. The strain evolved.
And the clip ends there. And the clip's going viral because it really shows, first of all, how ignorant Neil deGrasse Tyson is. I mean, if you're ever in a situation where you're on a podcast and you're doing this physically and you're panicking, you don't seem more correct by doing that. And it's a very like dumb, like animalistic thing to be like louder equals correct. Or if I fling my arms around, people must see how frustrated I am. That must mean that I am correct. No. So again, Neil deGrasse Tyson would be correct if this was not about the COVID vaccine. Certain other vaccines, there's an argument to be made. Why are you taking your kids to school if you're not going to give them like the smallpox? Okay, I get it. The COVID vaccine is different. It was an unprecedented situation in which it came about. It was rushed. Literally rushed. The name of the operation was Warp Speed. You can't even cook food on Warp Speed. If you cook meat on Warp Speed, you're going to get sick. Like, can you really blame anyone for not wanting to take a rushed product? For structuring society around a rushed product? Segregating, structuring, mandating that kids have to go to school to take it? It's like, I get so frustrated because people just think about this issue emotionally and not logically. It's like, replace vaccine with anything else. And I don't like that anyone who has questions, concerns, or opposition to the COVID vaccine is called anti-vax. Like, how does that make sense? It's like, you can take every vaccine that exists, be supportive of every vaccine that exists, be trepidatious about the COVID vaccine, one vaccine, and suddenly you're an anti-vaxxer. That's like, I don't know, like going to the movies and disliking a movie and telling your friend like, oh man, I really didn't like that movie. Oh, so what, are you anti-movie? It's like, are you, what? So you could have went your whole life watching every movie. You dislike one and all society is like, this guy's anti-movie. He's a cinemaphobe. The fuck? Make it make sense, but you can't. You can't. And I'm not going to hold my breath for you to make it make sense. Because your entire ideology is built on slandering people. You're a collectivist, so you group people in. You group vaccines in. Have an issue with one vaccine, you're an anti-vaxxer. We're grouping all vaccines. He must hate smallpox vaccines. He must... What? It's just crazy. Like, watch this clip.
We're not in a position where we think that any virus, including the Delta virus, which is much more transmissible and more deadly in terms of unvaccinated people, the various shots that people are getting now cover that. You're okay. You're not going to get COVID if you have these vaccinations.
Our data from the CDC today suggests, that vaccinated people do not carry the virus, don't get sick, and that it's not just in the clinical trials, but it's also in real-world data.
Now we know that the vaccines work well enough that the virus stops with every vaccinated person. A vaccinated person gets exposed to the virus does not infect them. The virus cannot then use that person to go anywhere else.
So you had the entire, since Neil deGrasse Tyson wants to keep, calling upon the system. The entire system was wrong, motherfucker. The entire system was wrong. Trust the science. Where do I source this trust from? Where are y'all getting it? I would love to live in this fairy tale land where all the systems in place have my best interest at heart, where all the government organizations are working in my favor and not against me. I would love to live in that world, please. Inform me of where you're sourcing this trust that you're hashtagging from, because I don't know where to get it. Because as far as I can see, you got the FBI working against American people. You got the CDC. You got the... Where's the trust? I can't. But they're reversing course because a Syracuse judge strikes down New York vaccine mandate for health workers, rules that state overstepped its authority. Isn't it amazing that we're rolling it back and talking about, oh, we overstepped our authority 3 years later? 3 years later, after the damage is already done. Now, 3 years later, they're talking about, well, there might be some health risks. Oh, glad we didn't force everyone to do it, to go to the work, to go to school, to go to Walmart. Actually, Walmart wasn't included. To go to restaurants, to go to public places, to participate in society, to travel, to celebrate holidays. But now, there may be some health concerns after we forced you to get it. And yes, you did force them. I don't want to see any comments of anyone talking about it wasn't for. Okay, is it really not forced if you can't participate in society unless you do it? Is that really a decision? Or is that a gun to your head? It's a very select class of people that have the using this word unironically, privilege to not take it. I was among them. I work from home. I'm my own boss. I'm not in school. I make my own living. There was no entity in my life that was mandating me to do this thing. But there's plenty of people, that did. Like, everyone I know that works a quote unquote normal job with an employer and a higher up or whatever, they all had to. Even now, it's mandated for a lot of jobs. So, what's going on? I know what's going on, tyranny, but it's just crazy. Trans canine. Sometimes I'm like, I think that like 100 years from now, 200 years from now, like clips from this podcast are going to be like put in like history books, or the version of books are at that point. It's like, look what the fuck was going on. We had this weird like right-wing trans woman talking about COVID mandates and trans canines. And it's like, this is such a indicative of like the time. You want to understand 2020 through 2023? Watch these. Trans canine adult model who claims to have sex with dogs. It's really not funny and it's horrible. Says she was visited by police. She's quoted saying, "You bring animal deaths, I bring them orgasms." So is you vegan? Is she vegan? A woman who identifies as trans canine was banned from subscription service platforms after allegedly posting content of herself engaging in sexual activity with dogs, and now says she was visited by police. Yeah, you should have been. She said, "I got banned off FanView. I hope everyone gets refunded. They said we cannot allow someone who fucks dogs on our platform. But honestly, I don't do the effing. I just get on my knees and the dogs do the rest." Ah! I didn't read this before I started. Oh my God. This is disgusting. I was like laughing, but this is not funny. I want to beat her ass. Wow. She said, "I have made a decision to come out. As we know, humans are complicated and intelligent beings. We aren't always simple. I have been with 6 dogs this past year and only 2 men in my entire life." Oh my God. I want to fight her. I am trans canine. I just want friends and a crowd that accepts and loves and cherishes me. So here's the thing. You know how Logan Paul does like, what's it called? Like he like fights people in the ring like other YouTubers. It's like, I want to fight this hoe. How dare you, bitch? You're abusing dogs. Joey's covering Bella's ears right now. I don't want her to hear this. How dare you, bitch? Put me in a ring with the trans canine hoe. My God. I hope she goes to jail. It must be like legal where she's from. Otherwise she'd be in jail. But it's just like, that is the devil. Speaking of the devil, Arkansas bill formally classifies drag performances as adult-oriented businesses and ban children from attending. Thank you, Arkansas. Round of applause. Ding, ding, ding. Because this is how I clap, by the way. Whenever I'm like at events and like everyone has to clap, I do this. You know what I mean? Because like there's enough people clapping that it's like, why do I have to add to the noise? So I just, if you're an audio listener, I just tap my fingers together like this. Also, are you or are you not, put it in the comments, the kind of person who, when everyone's like screaming in a crowd, like makes a noise and everyone's like, ah! I'm the person who's like silent. Like I act like I'm screaming, but I don't scream because it's like, why do I want to mess up my vocal cords when no one can hear me? And I'm like, it's already loud. I'm not going to add to that. So it's talking about. Anyways, Arkansas bill formally classifies drag performances for, adults, which no brainer, go figure. And this is what I'm talking about. It's like the banning on like trans adults in Oklahoma, potentially under 26, wrong. This, right. A lot of the ways that these red states are handling this stuff is correct. This is correct. What these activists rely on is half-truths, right? So they will say like, drag isn't inherently sexual, which is true in the sense of performing with a wig, dressed as a woman is not inherently sexual because, people do it on SNL and it's funny. You can do it in a comedic way. You can do it like one time I went to this drag show before it was like all gross. I went to a drag show in like 2014 with my best friends and there was a drag queen on like stilts. There was like a hoe in drag and like she was on these like crazy stilts like 10 feet high and I was like, that's talent. And it was not sexual. You know what I'm talking about? But the way it is now, it's like, so that's a half truth. And they rely on that and they make it the whole truth. Yeah, drag isn't inherently sexual, but they never acknowledge that a drag performance can be sexual. And many of the ones that we're seeing are. So it's again, no reaction is worse than an overreaction in some cases. When it comes to kids and the protection of kids, no reaction is worse than an overreaction. I'd rather overreact and be like, okay, they're all over 18. Even if you're just a hoe on stilts, juggling, breathing fire. Sorry, I'd rather have an 18 plus on that so that the other one with the ones that are dry humping each other and putting money in like drag queens underwear, having kids do it. So at least those ones have an 18 plus, right? I would rather the overreaction than no reaction. So maybe we'll find a middle ground someday, but I would rather that. But then you have, this is a good example of, this is even worse than no reaction. After Hours, RuPaul Drag Show offers free tickets to children under 8. So it's not just that these people in this industry, and specifically the people at the top of this industry, the RuPaul's drag race queens who are at the top of it, it's not as if they're just not reacting. They are reacting by saying F you and giving free tickets to children under 8 to an After Hours. After Hours, though. I was having this conversation with my friend who's like a fan of RuPaul's Drag Race. And I was like, I wonder like how RuPaul feels. Because RuPaul, comes from an older generation. It's like, he said some things where I'm like, he is like a little more based than like these like new queens and like these younger LGBT people because he's older. You know what I'm saying? He's married and whatever. I was like, I wonder how he feels. But as far as I'm concerned, if you're silent, that's how you feel. And if you're getting, under 8 free tickets to an after hours thing, that's how you feel. So that's where he stands. So screw RuPaul. People got so mad at me when I talked about how, like, when you meet these drag race queens, specifically from the show, that you really understand that these are not like magical fairies who are to be like, oh my God, or looked up to. It's like, they're all drug addicts. Sorry. My hair is brown, the sky is blue. I didn't make it so. And when I say all, yeah, I haven't met every single one. But I lived in LA for 5 years. I have met a lot of them. And pretty much every time you meet up, and when I say a lot, I mean like I could fill up like 2 seasons worth of cast at least with how many I've met. And when you meet them, they're always on like day 3 of some crazy bender. They excuse themselves to go do like a grinder hookup, then come back. It's like, it's very that. It's like, these are not child-friendly performers. And yeah, that's on their own time, but it's like, same way as like, I'm not trying to have like strippers perform in front of kids. It's really that simple. And why it's hard for people to understand, I don't know. But apparently it is. But they rely on half-truths. It's like, drag isn't inherently sexual. Yeah, we know, but it can be. And the fact that you guys won't acknowledge that is the issue, right? Oh my God. All right, we saved the favorite segment for last here. Reacting to woke TikToks. And I did pick a theme this time, because sometimes I don't be picking themes, but this time I did. Woke teachers. Because... what's the article right now? I'm going to look this up, actually. Homeschool rates increasing. It's like recently there was like a huge explosion. America's public schools are losing students. The number of homeschool students doubled to about 5 million. And that's a really big deal. I mean, what is there? 30 million people? 300 million people? 300 million people in the country. 5 million of those people being homeschooled is kind of a big deal. When you think about the spiderweb effect of that many people who were raised under homeschooling and how they're out in society and participating in it. That's a big deal. I said 30 million because I was thinking of California, which the population of California is 30 million. The population of California is bigger than Canada. It's like crazy to me. But anyways, if you're wondering why there's such an explosion in parents opting their kids out of public school and saying, maybe this isn't for me, we're going to show you why. Here's example A, exhibit, if you will, A.
So I have a lot of these comments, so I figured I'd jump in and show one of the mini lessons I do through the year around inclusivity. So I usually start with this book, which I absolutely love. It introduces a variety of pronouns as well as multiple pronouns that someone might use. There's also a great video on amaze.org that goes into pronouns and how to respect people's pronouns. All these lessons are done in our morning meeting or in our ELA time because they're connected with writing and with reading. And they hit all our standards. This year's chart is a little wonky, but all of these are from the students, the description.
Personal pronouns. Let's zoom in on this. They're doing a whole lesson on how to ask people their pronouns. Never mind the fact that if you ask a trans person like me, for which I know people act like I'm the black sheep of the community and I'm just so different than every other trans person, there's a lot of other people like me in the trans community that if you ask me my pronouns, I'm actually going to be offended. I'm actually going to be put off. So this teacher having these kids say that it's a sign of respect to say, what are your pronouns? What would you like me to call you? How do you identify? These are all lists. If you ask me that, I'm genuinely going to take offense because I did not put these in my body. I did not feminize my face. I did not transition. I did not change my name, all that shit, to still have some annoying green-haired ZZM talking about, how do you identify? Well, guess what? If you can't tell by looking at me, I'm doing something wrong. But I know the data and I'm not doing anything wrong because everywhere I go, it's she, and that's inherent. But it's like, that's how you know there's a divide between like trans people and like trans people who are like trans politically. There are transgender people and there are trans political people. This is a trans political person. And you're teaching kids about this. How about we teach kids like financial literacy? How to participate in society, how to pull out a loan, how to buy a house, life skills. How about a what are we going to do class? What are we going to do if my car goes underwater and I have 30 seconds to live? What do I do if a bear attacks me? What if I do if a rabid pit bull attacks my 3-year-old daughter? Like real shit. And I know that sounds like, oh, people always say that, okay, because it's true. Like there's no real life skills taught in class. I spent years talking about a rhombus. I don't know what an rhombus is. Is it rhombus or a rhombus? See, I don't know. Granted, God bless the people who use math in their daily lives as an adult. These are the people that get us on rockets to the moon. These are the people that would, and there's such a lane for that, and I respect it. I don't get it. It's like you're talking in tongues if you're talking math to me. I'm a language person. I speak. I write. I interact. But like, the fact remains that like maybe we should figure out how to better identify kids who are for that lane, kids who are not, and then teach everyone real life shit. It's like, I would rather my kid be taught financial literacy than pronouns.
And definition I help them with, but then the what to say and how to correct comes explicitly from them. And as you can see, it hangs up on our social justice wall right behind me. And then the infamous llamacorn and narwhal is what we move into. So we actually practice the sayings they came up with using the stuffed animals. So pretty straightforward, pretty simple, something anyone can do in a morning meeting or during a block.
Here's a tip. If your kid's still playing with stuffed animals, they don't need to learn about gender fluidity. Just saying. Here's another one. Non-binary teacher gets their validation when students use their correct pronouns. These are the people teaching your kids. Yeah, God knows why homeschooling rates are exploding. Why do schools keep hiring people that look like this? Everyone wants to act so like skittish when people bring up looks. Like, don't bring looks into it. I'm sorry. There is a look for these people who are interested in talking to kids about gender and sexuality and gender identity and trans this and trans that. It's the colored hair. It's the shaved heads. It's the clear emotional instability. It's the wearing a mask up to your fucking eyelids. Like, there is a look, and I'm going to need schools to stop hiring these people. Because these people are just like frothing at the mouth. Can't wait to tell kids about gender and transitioning and hormones and just can't wait. Go home at night just dreaming up new ways to bring it into a conversation where it wasn't warranted. It's just crazy. Like what? Oh my God. For audio listeners, this is a post that went viral from a woke teacher with pronouns in her bio talking about she, her, L. What kind of pronoun is L? I don't even know. But then you zoom in, it's just like a basic white lived out woman named Natalie. But sure, you got pronouns and the trans flag, and you're one of us. Sure, I'm supposed to see camaraderie in you because you have a trans flag in your bio, even though your name's Natalie and you're not trans and you're not gay and you're just a busybody bitch. My fucking blood pressure. Today we talked about the pride flag, she wrote, what we noticed on it and what we're all seeing it flying at our school. We are learning what it means to be loving and inclusive to all members of our community. And it's a bunch of like literal like 4 or 5-year-olds flying trans flags and gay flags and these flags that I can't even keep up with. They have like the non-binary circle. It's just teach them how to read. Teach them how to write. Teach them how to do math for the ones that are going to take us to the moon. Like, this is just too much. Why? My whole thing is like, why is it necessary? And that's the thing no one can answer. It's just why is it necessary? Here's another teacher. Elementary school teacher says educators shouldn't use boys and girls, the phrase, because society views boys and girls as being different, and that needs to stop.
PSA to all educators, especially elementary school educators, do us all a favor, society a favor, and stop breaking your kids up into boys groups and girls groups. Please stop doing it, especially at an elementary level. For academics.
This is the other look they always have, by the way. For audio listeners, it's just some short hair, big rim glasses, clearly emotionally unstable, clearly like eternally running away from her conservative father, just like so upset, pointing at the camera, talking about gender is not real. It's like, that's a look as well. And it's because these people really are collectivists. So people think it's a moot point to bring up how they all have a look. Actually, it's a very real point because they're all collectivists. So they're all literally replicas of each other. That's why they say the exact same shit. They run off talking points. They're NPCs. They're just colorful NPCs.
For athletics, for all things, stop breaking them up into boys and girls groups. First of all, boys and girls are basically growing at the same level throughout infancy, throughout toddlerhood, and throughout elementary school. It's not until upper elementary where girls actually take off and grow quicker and stronger than boys that later catch up in high school. So this idea that they can't work together, they can't play together, it's not safe, it's wrong. It's not the correct idea. And it creates this idea that boys and girls are inherently different, which is something we're trying to stop in our society.
There is no we here, bitch. Who is we? No, really, who is we? Because you're clearly... I'm not included in that. I'm trans. So if the we is the trans community trying to change the idea that boys and girls are inherently different, if that's the we... I'm out, so you don't have me. Who is we? Just leftists? Okay, well, guess what? You don't run the fucking world. Not everyone agrees with you. And you're objectively wrong. There's no difference between boys and girls inherently. Really? Really? So they don't statistically gravitate towards different toys in infancy. They don't statistically gravitate towards different activities. They don't statistically, have different strengths and weaknesses and interests. All of that? What are you talking about? That's why we call these people the flat earthers of gender, because what they believe is literally anti-science. They trust the science, always pro-science, TM. It's never actually that, because when it comes to what they don't want you to think or what they want you to think, it's different, right? So trust the science if it's about me forcing you to take an injection you don't want, but don't trust the science if it says that males and females have some inherent differences. Why am I trans if males and females don't have any inherent differences? Why'd I do this? Thank God short hair Kelly over here swooped in to let me know that there's no difference between men and women and that my transition was useless. Thank God for these new people barging their way into the trans community to let us know that it's actually been wrong this entire time. There's no difference between boys and girls, but also we should cut off girls' breasts if they like boy things. And also we should cut off boys' penises if they like girl things. But there's no difference between boys and girls. Reconcile with your dad. It's okay. I'm sure he's not that bad. I know he's an evil Trumper. My God, short hair Kelly, I know he's a Trumper, right? I know. But please, give him a chance. Fix that hole in your heart. Mend that darkness. And maybe you'll stop going on these rampages to TikTok talking about boys and girls aren't real. Shout out to short hair Kelly,
So do us all a favor. Break your kids up into levels. Break your kids up into hair color for all I care. But please, please, please stop breaking your kids up into boys and girls group.
Hair color is objectively way less consequential than gender. There are so many more valid reasons to separate students by gender than hair color. But you know what? It's cool, short hair Kelly. You have all the power. You're getting hired. You're in these schools. You're infecting these kids' brains. You win. But please just link up with your dad. I think it would benefit the whole family. Listen, it's a wrap for this episode, you guys. I gotta go hop on this plane to LA. And a lot more content coming soon. Like I said, I'm going to be on several podcasts out there. I'm going to film a cute little collab with Buck Angel. So stay tuned for that. And I love you guys. Please follow this channel. Subscribe to it. Subscribe to the main channel. Follow me on Twitter and Instagram. And please, 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 I love you forever if you rate me on Spotify, because it really does help me out so much. More than I could ever say, really. Leave me a rating. If you listen to it on audio and you've never thought to rate, it's simple, quick, 2 clicks, and it helps me out so much. So I'll see you guys when I get back from LA, and I love you. Bye.